I've discovered the issue with the N word to be very disheartening. The idea of the word being used by those who are non black in an offensive manner makes me believe that the black community doesn't have anything left to call their own. When I was in high school, there was a young woman who was non black who used the N word not in a non offensive manner, but everyone turned and looked at her in disgust once it was said in the classroom. And that week in school, there were a bunch of protests, outright Black Lives Matter signs and clothes symbolizing the Black Lives Matter movement. And it was just upsetting to me when I saw how everyone was yelling at this young woman and screaming at her and very upset at the fact that she had said this word, but they weren't explaining to her why she shouldn't have said this word or the meaning or the knowledge behind why we as black people take so much pride in this word to this day. And how I look at it is that we use this word as a term of endearment to acknowledge one another within our culture. But those who are non-black, when they use it, it's looked at as offensive, being as though that for centuries before us, it's been used as a derogatory term to describe black people and slavery during segregation. It's just been used in an offensive manner. So when those of the non-black descent use this term now, it's looked at as offensive, even though some may not be using it in an offensive manner. So when I saw how this young woman was being screamed and yelled at, I just wanted to help her and tell her why and explain to her the education behind why we don't want anyone to say this word who is non-black. So I pulled her to the side and I told her, yes, this word can't be used by you because you're non-black, not because we don't want to share our culture or because we're being rude about using the word, but because it has been used as a derogative term in past years before us. So we look at it now, we take pride in it, and that's a part of our culture. So we want those who are non-black to respect us in our culture. A non-black woman who was very apologetic after she had said the N-word publicly to the media. She posted a video on social media saying the N-word in a rap song as she was rapping the song lyrics. And she apologized for that genuinely because she was unaware of the ignorance. She was ignorant to the idea of using the N-word, and she apologized for her lack of knowledge, and that was really respectful. And then as you can see in the next photo next to that one, there's another young woman of the black descent who's explaining, yes, of why it's offensive and why we take so much pride in the word. And not because we don't want to share our culture because we're being rude to anyone who's non-black, but because we want you to understand the knowledge behind this word. Even though it was once used as a derogatory term among black people, according to an interview that was done by Sean Price, who interviewed a professor at the University of Arizona. He expressed this idea of the word being used as a term of endearment. And the interview was titled Straight Talk about the N-word, in which he discussed the course that they have been offering at the university, explaining why the knowledge behind using the word. And he discussed how many young black people today use the term and why is it so popular amongst so many young black people today. He explained why it's so popular, and he said that it was because we take power in the word, which allowed us to have control over it, not over it, but control of the word. And this is another way we also self-identify, by using this word amongst each other when we're talking to one another in rap songs and lyrics. This is what we have become. This has become a part of the black culture and what we see as a term of endearment, as a way to acknowledge one another as brother and sister. That word was solely designed for us as a race. We molded it to make it good because it was once used in an offensive manner. And when someone who's non-black says the N-word, it can be seen as offensive or an insult. But when we say it's different because we molded the word. And according to the editorial board, in an article titled Explained Why You Can't Say the N-word, they said in this article, they mentioned that it's okay for us to say no, for black people to say no, and that those who are non-black shouldn't be offended when we say no, you cannot say that word, because they further explain the knowledge behind the word and why it's okay for us to say no, because they're explaining that we're not excluding anyone from exploring our culture, but that we want what comes with our culture is to be respected. In this photo above is explaining how this is an example of someone who is using the term in an offensive manner, not someone who was apologetic about it, but someone who was using the term in an offensive manner. It was a young woman who sent the email to, I believe it was a black person, a young black person who sent the email, who received the email from a non-black woman who was upset that they were, she was upset that everyone was coming at her about using the word, and she said in the email, I'm going to use the word no matter what anyone says. She said, I don't care about your culture. She said, I don't care how it came about. I'm going to use it in the songs if I want. If I want to say the lyrics to the song, and if it's in it, I'm going to use it. And it was very disheartening because she didn't even want to know the knowledge behind why. She just got so angry, and she thought that it was racist. She mentioned in the email, she thought it was racist of us as a black community to not want non-blacks to say the word. And I saw that as being very upsetting because it's not racism. It's not being rude. That's not where we're coming from. It's racism to say that you're going to still use the word and to disrespect a culture that is not your culture. And in this photo here above in this chart shows how many people in the world find those who are non-black that use the N-word, how many people find it to be offensive, how many people see nothing wrong with it, and how many people are using it in an appropriate way. And as you can see by the graph, it shows more of the blue bars are higher in percentage of who finds it to be offensive for those who are non-black to use the word. So you can see that in the graph, in the chart, and it's just very heartbreaking to see how many people. I mean, it's very heartbreaking to see that people are using it inappropriately, and some people see nothing wrong. But also makes me very happy to see how many people do find it offensive, and how many people are willing to be educated on finding out the purpose behind the word. And so that's what I'm here to explain. That's the purpose behind it. So when we use that word, is how we identify ourselves. When you say, I don't care about your culture, I don't want to learn more about behind the reason why the black community is so upset for me using this word. And there was a student from Rice University, Gabby Falcon, and according to Gabby, in this article she wrote, her feelings about why the word shouldn't be said, titled "What Black People Hear When You Use the N-Word." She mentions how since the American Revolution, since centuries ago, that the black community, our culture has been appropriated by those who are non-black, and they've been using the term the N-word as a way to seem hip or cool, but it's an insult, and that's what she explains inside of the article. And in this photo above, as you can see, with the hairstyles from the two women, one who is non-black, one who is a black woman, it shows an example of cultural appropriation because it says that her hairstyle is seen to be as ghetto, while the young woman who is non-black is seen for saying the same hairstyle is shown to be high fashion. That's what they're saying is high fashion. That's what's appropriate. But when there's a black person wearing that hairstyle, who it came from, because that's a part of the black culture, it's seen as ghetto, which is very upsetting. And which also brings me to the question next to this photo is why can America love black people just as much as they love black culture? And that's where the question comes in right there. And that's what Gabby Falcon explained in her article, what black people hear when you use the N-word. It's not to be used as a way to seem cool or hip, or a way to make fun of or offend or throw racial slurs or be derogatory towards a culture, but it's because we see that our lives matter, and that we don't want to be silenced. We want our culture to be respected. That's what it comes to. So it's not that all lives don't matter, but it's the fact that ours don't matter enough, the black community. Thank you.